Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the new moon in Scorpio that happens tomorrow on the 15th of November 2020 at 7 minutes past 5 in the morning, and that's based on London time. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today to give you this rundown of the new moon in Scorpio. The chart you can see next to me here is a snapshot of the sky at the exact moment this new moon happens, and I'm going to look at the chart and see what relationships the moon forms with other planets here in the sky, what energy that's going to generate and bring up for all of us, and how you can use this to your advantage so you can make the most of the energy and you can have the best time possible. The new moon is a great energy for the day itself, but the new moon is really about starting a new cycle. So the basics here: the sun and the moon during a new moon sit together, so they conjunct each other. The moon goes pitch black, it goes inward, it recharges its batteries, and it really leaves behind everything it's done up until that point, and it completes the previous cycle. It gives itself a clean slate, it absorbs the energy from the sun, and it says, okay, I'm going to move forward again for the next 28 days, month, next cycle here. What am I going to focus on? What can I do for myself? How can I progress in life? How can I strengthen my identity? How can I be comfortable in life? How can I experience self-love, love, a sense of connection? And the moon in itself is the part of the chart that is very sensitive. It's how you feel internally. It's what gives you a sense of home and contentment and belonging. So that's a very subjective kind of energy. It really is fragile, and it depends on whether you pay attention to it or not, and you can really get a lot out of it, especially a moon in Scorpio, because it dives down so deeply. The sun is usually something you're striving towards. It's your identity, it's what strengthens you, and it's what gives you power and drive. It actually reminds me that Mars, the male principle, went direct yesterday on the 14th of November, adding more power. And the sun is similar to that. It's this giant fireball. It's the center of our solar system. Everything revolves around it, literally. And it's what you're trying to create. It's what you're trying to manifest on planet Earth. So when those two meet, the way you feel and what gives you a sense of, and the sun, what builds you up and what excites you and what gives you a sense of power, when those two come together, you can really get some great answers about where you want to go in life. Scorpio itself is a wonderful sign of the zodiac. It's really about uncovering hidden truths, light and dark, healing, death and rebirth. It's ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation and change. In mythology, that's Hades, the ruler of the underworld. So it's about, what's beneath and what you can bring to the surface, and what needs to be really looked at in earnest before you can operate on a surface level. So it means you have to look inside if you want the outsides to be okay. It means that you look at the entire picture, and it works really well with a new moon, because the inner part of you, the moon, and the outer part of you, the sun, are perfectly aligned. They're recharging each other, and it really allows you to deep dive into yourself and to get answers that you haven't been able to get before. It's also, I keep getting this image as I'm talking of a snake shedding its skin. And it needs to do that to let go of the old so that it can regenerate and make space for something new. And it's about bringing youth back into your life and a sense of wonder and opportunity. And really, it's not about being deluded and saying, oh, nothing bad can happen to me, or nothing bad has ever happened to me. It's the opposite. It's saying, these things have happened, and I recognize them, and I learn from them, and I'm going to overcome those and transform them into something magical. That's what Scorpio's talent really is, to be intense and to get down and dirty and to, really face the dark stuff in life. But it's not just self-flagellation. It's not torture. It's not like I'm looking at the dark stuff just to be miserable and unhappy. It's looking at the things that are unhealed in you so that you can heal, so that you can constantly renew yourself and grow. Because I really am getting a strong message that growth and personal change is something that we need to embrace here on the 15th of November. Everything has to change and alter as time moves on. If we don't change, we become bitter and we don't function as well as we could, and we create this resistance between the world and ourselves. And when you create this resistance by hanging on to the way things ought to be, or the way things were, or the way things should be, then you're really not shedding your skin, and you're holding on to old things which don't have life of their own, and you're really preventing new things from coming in. So this is really important, to just be open-minded and to say, do you know what? Any wonderful thing can happen, and I'm ready for it. I am living for it. I'm here for it. It's also 23 degrees, this new moon. So 2 and 3 is 5, and 5 in numerology is about freedom. So face your feelings and face your truth to acquire freedom in your life. And that's an amazing lesson for always. If we listen to ourselves, and if we make peace with ourselves. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I have this person, or I am this person, that needs constant maintenance on a physical level. Have to take care of everything. But on a soul, spiritual level, there are things about me that I don't really like, and that I've had to learn to come to terms with. And not just come to terms with, as I get older, I am seeing the wisdom of embracing all parts of myself, because it brings down that wall. It destroys the reluctance between your higher self and your ego, conscious self here in this body on planet Earth. And just because your inner self says something or demands something or wants something that you're at odds with, doesn't make it good or bad or right or wrong. The only thing that you're responsible for is not judging it. You don't judge it. You let it play out in you, and it will lead you places that you never thought possible. And that's why I think we're often very conflicted, and we're often very at odds with ourselves, because that's how we grow. It's that whole process of coming to terms with yourself and facing the anxieties and the fears and the failures and all the things that hurt, because it's only through that mud that you're able to find the little diamonds in there and bring them to the surface and clean them up and sparkle and shine. Sounds kind of corny, but that, I hope you get what I mean by that. It's no pain, no gain, unfortunately, on planet Earth. And the 15th of November doesn't mean you have to experience pain. Because it's a new beginning, you're able to look at things that have happened in the past and how you're going to transform them in future. So it's really about the new. It's about new beginnings and finding things that give you a sense of fulfillment and freedom in yourself. It's interesting, freedom from self only happens when you embrace the self. Isn't that weird? So you have to get closer to yourself to be free of yourself. It's kind of like everything. What you resist persists, and what you accept kind of goes boop. Yeah. So, okay, so we've got this new moon in Scorpio at 23 degrees. That's amazing. So all you need to do really to get the good stuff from this event is to feel your own feelings. And I know that's easily said. Anyone who's in recovery will know that that's not the easiest thing in the world. But if you're able to feel your feelings, do that and see what they offer you, because they're going to offer you all these treasures. Now, the moon forms several relationships with other things in the chart. First of all, there's a quincunx, which means it's 150 degrees away from the North Node at 21 degrees in Gemini. The North Node is, in Vedic astrology, I think it's like a dragon that they split in half. The North Node is the head of the dragon, and the South Node is the tail of the dragon. So again, it's very much about the past and the future, where you're going, where you've come from. The North Node in Gemini is an air sign. It's masculine. It's about communication. It's a doorway. If you look at the symbol of Gemini, Roman numeral 2, it's 2 pillars with a doorway in the middle, and it really embodies this idea that you have to bring things out of yourself. It's all about what's going on in here, and finding a way of communicating that to other people, to the world, to find ways of taking your ideas, yourself, and to lead it in different directions. So Gemini is great at writing or starting new adventures and pioneering ideas that no one else has tested yet, because Gemini is willing to try out new things to have experiences for the sake of having experiences. Whether they're successful or not is irrelevant. What's important is the actual experience, and it's the moments where you're not certain and where you're learning something. Those things that you then learn can kind of, I want to say gestate, but that's kind of pregnancy. Yeah, I get. So they grow in you, those ideas and those things you learn. You put your own stamp on it, and then you're able to express things in a way that's really unique to you. So the North Node here in Gemini is saying that by feeling your feelings, you're immediately going to find that those feelings lead you in certain directions. So either you find it impossible to keep your mouth shut and you feel something and you're like, okay, I can't, enough. This is what I'm feeling. Everyone listen to me. This, and you go for it that way. Or you have an epiphany and insight and you're like, oh, other people need to know this. Let me make a YouTube video and share it. Or it's insight into yourself, for instance. And if you're on a healing journey, maybe if you're in therapy, if you're working with someone, then it's, hey, I've understood this about myself and I want to share it with you, just to hear myself say it and to see what that means. I don't know, again, but in my experience, when I have said things to people that are really personal and that have been kind of playing on my mind, and I've just expressed my thoughts and feelings to others, it's weird because you're sitting there, it's like, oh, is this how I sound? That doesn't sound very positive, or that doesn't sound very negative. Oh, I didn't realize that that's the way my thoughts are. It's the same when you put things down on paper. When you see them in black and white, you're like, that is ridiculous. How could I even think that? So it pushes you towards the new. So it's even stronger than just the new moon by itself in Scorpio, because the new moon in Scorpio is about let's transform what was into something glorious and brilliant. But with the North Node in Gemini, it's immediate. It's like, okay, you have these feelings, let's go and do them. There's no gap between the feelings and the thought and the actual action, because it's like, whoa, it comes out of you. So if there are feelings that you're not allowed to feel, and where you have to kind of be quiet and keep it to yourself, that's a red flag. Why are you in situations where you're not allowed to say what you feel? Why are you around people who censor you? Why do you have to be careful about your feelings and opinions? And if that is in one area of your life, so work, well, that's understandable, right? Because you're not going to go to your boss and say, hello, sir, you know what? I have separation anxiety today. I would like to meditate all day. He's not going to love that. But if it's, and that's normal because at work, you know, you go there for work, etc. We know all this. But if it's in your family, you can't speak your truth, and at work, you can't speak to your truth, and you have friends where you can't speak your truth, then that is a real wake-up call in itself, that you need to make changes in your life where you're able to articulate and express yourself. Because you're here on this planet for a reason. You're not just here to make money and to work and to please other people. You're here to make your unique contribution. There's only one of you. There's never going to be another one of you. You're unique, you're special, and I'm not saying that to just blow smoke up you and make you feel good. It's just a fact of life. There's never going to be someone who shares your exact components, and that makes you really special. Whether you think you're amazing or not, it's really irrelevant. You're going to stay special whether you love yourself or not. So love yourself, try to love yourself. This is a day where you can really make progress with that, because you can love everything, warts and all. Scorpio doesn't shy away from things. Scorpio doesn't say, ooh, that's too dark. No, thank you. That's Virgo. Okay, Virgo would be like, no, bye. So we don't have a new moon in Virgo, we've got a new moon in Scorpio that really allows us to dive deep and to understand ourselves amazingly. Now the North Node also is at 21 degrees, 2 and 1 is 3. 3 in numerology is the mind, it's communication, and it's new beginnings. And I've been talking about that this whole video. It's very on brand with everything else that's going on. So the chart is really pushing you to look at something new. Think of this as New Year's in astrology. It's New Year's. It's time for you to set some goals, to, what are they called? New Year's resolutions. To make some resolutions about your future. Are you going to be there for yourself or not? Okay, next connection is the new moon in Scorpio, excuse me, forms a trine, so it's 120 degrees away from Neptune, the water planet, King Triton, Little Mermaid, ruler of the oceans, ruler of the sea, at 18 degrees in Pisces, the sign that is ruled by Neptune. That's amazing. Okay. I want to talk about the 18 first. 1 and 8 is 9. 9 is spirituality and completion, which is ruled by water. Neptune is the water planet. And the number 9 as well, in numerology, is just like the hermit in the tarot. It's looking at the inner light and saying, this is where the wisdom comes from, not this little lamp that I've got, but the inner light that always guides me, and that's on 24/7. Neptune gives you this amazing access to your feelings and to your imagination and everything that's unmanifest. So think The Secret, think Abraham Hicks, the law of attraction. The veil between this world and the next world is thin, and also the consistency of your reality now and your future is really palatable, and it's like a piece of copper. You can really mold it and bend it because you have the imagination and the insight to see what you've got already in the now and how you can work with that and change it to make it pop for you in the way that you like things to pop. Neptune in Pisces is very, very happy as it rules the sign, and Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It rules the 12th house, which is the very end of the astrology chart. And Pisces is, again, you can see the symbol is like two fish facing each other. It's like two fish meeting. And it's about connection. And it's about connection on an emotional, spiritual, loving level. And the water planet rules things like spirituality and connection and love. All of that ruled by water. It means that you have an amazing ability to connect with yourself that you usually would not have. I'm not making a joke here, I'm really serious. If you have problems with yourself, if you find yourself problematic, if you don't like yourself, if you hate yourself, this is your day because you're able to make friends with yourself. And that's not impossible, okay? I'm someone who can speak from experience on this. I have had a journey where I'm in recovery now for the last 10 years. But before that, first of all, I didn't know who I was because I was always in pain and I was always numbing myself out so I wouldn't have to feel that pain. So I didn't even know who I was. And then I hated myself for constantly numbing myself out. So I would attack myself and I would despise myself and I would do all these horrible things to myself as a form of punishment. So one, you're in pain and suffering, you're trying your best to kind of self-medicate, I suppose. And then you're giving yourself a hard time for that and beating yourself up for self-medicating and trying to ease your pain. You just throw a whole other load of pain onto it. And that's why, you know, it's kind of important that we do look at ourselves, even if it is difficult and painful. If I hadn't looked at myself, which was not fun, then I wouldn't know that about me. And I wouldn't have been able to stop. Because now that I know that I did that, I don't do it today. I don't do that today. If I'm in pain today, first of all, I don't take something to alter my state of mind. And second of all, I try and soothe myself through it. It's like, okay, Greg, this will pass. There. You know, and that's, I mean, it may seem really flimsy and like, okay, great. That's very comforting, saying there for yourself. I'd rather take a Vicodin. But in the long term, that's the best thing we could do, to be there for ourselves. Because what did they say? The drugs don't work, and they don't. And self-care and being there for yourself and being your own family and not resisting yourself and embracing yourself, and on and on and on, that is really the best painkiller that we've got. Also, I think dark chocolate helps. I don't know about you, but eating dark chocolate, for me, sometimes helps. Okay, so with Neptune and the new moon in Scorpio, at the beginning of this video, I was saying, oh, the new moon in Scorpio really gives this ability to dive into yourself and to understand yourself in ways that you haven't been able to before. With Neptune trining this new moon, it's like having a magnifying lens on top of that insight. It's like a microscope. It's like putting yourself under the microscope and really being able to see all the cells and to see what makes up certain behavior patterns, what makes up the self-loathing or the lack of self-love if you have that problem, and to really be able to look at it objectively and to say, okay, I have a choice about it now because I understand it. If you don't understand something, you're just in this vicious cycle of having to repeat the same behavior over and over again without really having a clue why you're doing it. That's why comprehension of these things is so important, because once you understand it, then you have the freedom to choose. And then you can say, okay, am I really worthless and am I really going to beat myself up? Or am I going to soothe myself and do something with what I've been given? So the next relationship the moon forms then is, it forms a sextile, so it's 60 degrees away from the outer planets, Pluto, the one that rules Scorpio, so that's a nice friendship there. Sextile is a harmonious relationship anyway. They get on with one another when they're 60 degrees away from each other. Pluto rules Scorpio, planet of transformation and change. It also sextiles Jupiter, the lucky planet, and Saturn, the planet of structure and security and rigidity and the rules. It also forms a sextile with Pallas Athena, which is like the warrior goddess. It's like the female version of Mars. I include this in my charts because Mars is the male principle, and it's about motivation and power and war and confidence and fighting and asserting yourself. But the masculine way isn't the only way to be motivated and forceful and assertive, in my experience. You don't have to bulldoze other people and browbeat them with your opinions to get them to see what you mean. You can simply motivate yourself by saying, I'm working for my own freedom here. I'm working to be of service. I'm working for some greater good. It's a different kind of attitude. It's not just about the self. It's more connected to humanity. So the outer planets, they move very, very slowly, and they're all in Capricorn at the moment, the sign of the worker. So the new moon in Scorpio gives you this amazing insight. The sextile with those outer planets means that the insight can be converted into practical action, which will transform your life, bring good luck into it, and will create new structures and build new towers and new skyscrapers in your life. And what I mean by that is it's new structures in your life. A structure in your life is a husband or a wife or a child or a dog or a job or a diet or an exercise or a hobby or a skill. It's anything that gives you a sense of structure and it grounds you. It's something that you can rely on. So if you know how to sew, that's a tower in your life, because that's something you'll always be able to do. So, with the North Node in Gemini, urging you to kind of express your ideas, don't just settle for expressing and talking. Feel it, express it, and then do something about it. So follow it up with action. The outer planets are really on your side. And finally, Pallas Athena is at 23 degrees in Capricorn as well. So Pallas Athena is saying, okay, I'm giving you the practical tools to actually, like I'm seeing a garden with these tiles, like a muddy garden with these tile stepping stones, and they're being put in place for you so you can walk into the garden and off into your future, and it's being put into place so that there's a path for you to go down. So Pallas Athena is saying, do A, then take another step, then do C, and then go again, and each step is going to lead you somewhere else. 23 is 5, and that's freedom. So this is going to free you from circumstances that really trouble you. So if you live somewhere that you absolutely hate and you need to get out of it, but you can't. Let's say the rent is already way too much. The only way you can see yourself getting out of it is if you find a partner and share the rent. But I mean, you don't know when that's going to happen, if it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, so you can't really plan for that. This new moon in Scorpio is going to unearth other options in you to help you solve that problem. Because any problem you've got in your life, there isn't just one solution to it. And all the solutions are in you, always. Because the divine is in you. The divine wants you to thrive and loves you and wants you to succeed. Therefore, listening to yourself, difficult or not, means you will succeed. What did I just say? The apartment with the flat. Yeah. So, not the flat with the rent. Let's say the other problem is, oh no, let's finish that one off. So instead of finding a partner to help you share the rent, you go within and you say, do you know what? I really don't want to live here. What can I do about this? You might get the annoying answer that, accept where you live and learn to deal with it. vomit. Or why don't you try taking your spray paint art that you love to do in your spare time, why don't you put it on Pinterest? And then you'll be like, oh, where did that come from? What's that about? I don't know Pinterest. What am I going to do on Pinterest? Listen to those kind of things, follow it up. It might be that the spray painting expert critic of the world is looking at Pinterest that day and sees your upload and something happens. It's a silly example, but it's things can things can happen like that, okay? Let's see what's next. We've got the sextile with the outer planets. I've mentioned those. Neptune, yep. Those are the only kind of genuine aspect patterns the new moon makes. But when I was looking at this chart and kind of tuning into it earlier, what you'll notice is where the new moon is in this chart, it's at 23 degrees, and you'll see that Mercury, that's the purple kind of symbol, and then the X-Men symbol, that's called the part of fortune, they're also in the same section of the chart, the first house, and they're at different degrees, so they don't count as conjunctions, but I want to count them because they influence this anyway, I think. Mercury is at 5 degrees in Scorpio, so even though Mercury isn't connected to the moon, Mercury is the communication planet, and it colors the way you communicate, the way you think, and the way you take on information. Scorpio can sometimes be a little intense because it's looking at healing, so obviously it's going to be intense. But it can also fail to see the solution at times. So Mercury can, if there is no growth, and if you don't have a light at the end of the tunnel because you haven't accepted yourself, or you're just saying everything sucks and I can't change anything, then Mercury and Scorpio can often be kind of snarky and negative. If you find yourself being really bitter and unpleasant to other people, it's a sign that there's more work that you can do for yourself, and it's also a sign that you really need to look at your own progress and why you're dissatisfied with where you're at in life and how you can change that. It's the perfect day to do this. The part of fortune at 29 degrees in Libra, I love this. 2 and 9 is 11. 11 is the master number of service. Libra is about you connecting with other people, the universe, the world, the galaxies, other dimensions, anything you can connect with. And the part of fortune is good luck. So it's about self-discovery and listening to your feelings. But the second step I mentioned with the North Node is that you articulate what you're feeling. And by sharing what you're feeling and doing the work and actually saying, okay, what's going on with me? Because that is work. It's not all, a bowl of cherries usually. You're doing the work and saying, okay, these are my feelings. When you share that, you may feel like, okay, I'm just dumping this, or I'm just running it by another person to get their opinion. But what you won't notice is by sharing this truth, you're inspiring other people to be honest with themselves, and you're having an inspirational effect on other people. This is another silly example, but it's like Sex and the City when Carrie Bradshaw walks down the runway and she falls, and she gets up and keeps walking, and the other women who watch her are all inspired by this and say, hey, if she can fall and have this horrible moment and get up again and keep walking, then I can too. So never underestimate what you do for other people, whether it's direct or indirect. You really have an amazing impact on other people if you are authentic, and that's it. You don't have to try and impress them or use fancy words, how pernicious and belligerent. No, you just have to be authentic, and you have to speak about your truth and what you're feeling, and that is of service to other people. Venus is the love planet. It's at 22 degrees in Libra in the 12th house. Again, it's not connected to the moon at all. It's in the chart. 22 is the master number of the builder. Libra is a bridge with a bump in it. And Venus is the planet of love and beauty. So it's love with all its feelers out, connecting you to every road there is in the universe. And you can cruise down any road that you want. So fall in love with yourself. Fall in love with a new hobby. Fall in love with someone else. Fall in love with the world. Yeah, that's a good one, actually. If you're sick of this planet and you're like, do you know what? I've been here 70 years. I am sick of the way people have treated me. So look at that again and realize that it's a perception that can be changed. Because if you're still here, you're not meant to be isolated and unhappy and bitter. you're meant to connect, to be inspired, and to inspire other people. Again, it sounds terribly trite, but I really think that's the point of life. That's, in my experience, the best I've been able to come up with. To try and get out of yourself by connecting with someone else and then creating magic with that other person or with the higher self or the universe or whatever it is, because it's through connection that new ideas are generated. Okay, we have series, which again I use, not everyone else uses this like Pallas Athena. You can put things in the charts, and I've added these manually. So series is a cornucopia of wealth and abundance. So it's 0 degrees, and whenever you have something at 0 degrees, you really get the quintessential nature of it, uncomplicated by number vibrations, and it's in Pisces. So the cornucopia of wealth, showering you with abundance and love and wealth. The way to access that is to connect with you. To be like the hermit who looks at the light within and says, there is wisdom here, and I can trust this wisdom. And even if it's telling me stuff I don't understand, I'm going to have the faith in myself to take certain steps, and I'm going to trust that I'm acting in my own best interest. It sounds kind of weird, but it's a great day to learn to trust yourself again, because any guidance that you get from yourself, your higher self, the universe, whatever you want to call it, source, it's pretty much guaranteed that if you follow through with the guidance that you get, that you're going to have a life-changing, lucky, and supportive outcome. Chiron's at 5 degrees in Aries. Okay, so the ego is saying, oh no, don't take action, you'll fall on your face and you'll hurt yourself. Just stay in your bed and just sleep. So that's a good sign, because if the ego doesn't want you to act, then it's a really good idea to act, because it's at 5 degrees in Aries in retrograde. So by acting on your own feelings, on what you think is right, not what Professor McGee thinks is right, what you think is right, is going to lead you and take you a long way. And Chiron doesn't want that. It wants you to miss the whole day and not listen to your feelings and not act, because it wants you to stay miserable and unhappy and unfulfilled. Black Moon Lilith does something similar. It's at 2 degrees in Taurus. So some of you are addicted to chaos when it comes to your love life, your sex life, your relationships. And that's not a judgment, it's just a fact. Like some people are addicted to chaos or being late or substances. It's the ego's way of distracting you from your purpose by getting you involved in something that is a self-sustaining vicious cycle. Like an addiction is only going to get worse. Chaos in your love life is often gets worse because you need it to keep you from being bored or feeling dissatisfied. But the more you engage with it and the more drama you add to the relationship, the more drama you get back, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, that's why addictions never just peter off. You know, you never hear someone who's like, oh yeah, I smoked 20 years and then one day I just didn't feel like it. No one has that experience. They're all like, oh, it was life and death, and then I had to put them down and read a book about it, and now I'm free. Hallelujah. So it's not that things just gradually ease off. And Black Moon Lilith is going to try and distract you by being super controlling about your relationships and saying, where are you going? And making you jealous. It's like, who are you talking to? And feeling out of sorts in your love life. Feeling maybe sexually ignored, feeling unattractive, feeling unloved. That is the ego trying to sabotage you on this day. So today, if you feel neglected or unloved, the answer isn't, well, it can help, I suppose, but the answer altogether isn't having mind-blowing sex. It's really about asking yourself, hey, what's going on and what is it that you're feeling? Because you don't need someone to validate you to feel good in life. You don't. You don't need to constantly be to be made to feel attractive by other people to feel like you have some worth or value. It's something that if you care about, well, I'm not going to preach about love, certainly with other people. But it's not meant to be something that gives you a sense of control and a sense of, oh, I'm worthy because someone loves me. That's not what it's about. It's about, I love myself, I'm okay with myself, and therefore I don't have to control everything. I've got the peace of mind and the generosity and the time to connect with someone else and to see if I like them or not. And if I do like them, it might grow into something more meaningful and more fulfilling. Uranus is next to Black Moon Lilith. So the main ego device here by Black Moon Lilith is to say, let's cause chaos and drama by making your relationship problematic. And you'll notice, like I said with Mercury and Scorpio, if you're feeling snarky or bitter, then that's not going to have a positive effect on your relationship, saying something mean to someone. And the reality is when you say something mean to someone, you just lock yourself together with that person. Yeah. Also, Black Moon Lilith at 2 degrees, it's not just about being mean, it's about saying, we agreed about this. This is me talking to the imaginary partner. We agreed, and you're not allowed to do that. Like, so controlling other people or saying, or exercising some sort of influence over what they're able to do for themselves or not, that's another red flag to really back off. So really being mean and being controlling, those are your red flags that you've gone off in the wrong direction. Pull yourself back. You can start this day over anytime you want. And just because the new moon happens at 7 minutes past 5 doesn't mean that if you wake up at 3 minutes past 10 and you have a negative thought that the whole day is ruined. No, you have the whole day to really get in touch with yourself and say, hey, why am I being so bitchy? What am I trying to get out of this? And then you'll understand that, okay, it's about pain, being defensive and the usuals. Because anger and being mean and stuff, it's always about pain. It's always about your own pain. It's always about your own loneliness and always about your own things that are unhealed. And that is it. Wow. Okay. What I'm doing now is you can see in the circle in the middle, you've got all these lines connecting. Those are the aspect patterns I talked about. And I always just kind of tilt my head and look if I see any major aspect patterns like grand crosses or grand trines or T-squares or mystic rectangles or kites or anything. And here we've got a T-square. Oh, and before I talk about the T-square, what's interesting is that most of the activity in this chart is at the bottom. Do you see that? It's in the bottom 2 quadrants, so houses 1 through 6. And those are the quadrants 1 and 2 to do with the self and the self in connection with the home and love. And it's really not the day to focus about your public speaking skills and to be up on stage and, oh my God, I look beautiful, my makeup's on point. It's about going within and saying, what kind of home do I create for myself? Or what kind of environment do I create in my own mind for me to live with? Who am I to myself? Am I a complete bastard to myself or am I nice? And if you are unpleasant to yourself, and if you notice yourself being sarcastic or mean to yourself, then stop doing it and ask yourself, why am I talking to myself like this? You have the power to stop that. We can change our own inner dialogue. I'm sorry if I'm going on and on and on, but I feel quite strongly about this. So where was I? Oh yeah, the fact that everything's happening in the bottom part of the chart. So it's home. Sort out the home life. Home is where the heart is. Clean your own area before you go out into the world. It's going to serve you well. Because if you sort yourself out, then you don't put your own stuff on other people. The other thing is the T-square. It connects Mercury. So I'm glad I mentioned that. Mercury with, oh, you see, I just want to share something quickly that I think it's relevant to the loving yourself and hating yourself. I just did this, and it means that my hand kind of goes like that. I'm gay, okay? So just by doing that, I had the thought as like, oh, you fag. That's self-hatred. That is being negative towards the self. So it's quite interesting that I'm doing this horoscope because it's something that I know a little bit about. And just because I had that thought doesn't mean that I have to believe it. These days, I can let that thought go in and out. And it's from my training as a kid that these days I think it's a bit better, but that was my training. You don't behave in certain ways. And instead of believing that now, it's just in one ear, out the other, and I don't have to hurt myself over it. I don't have to say, you see, you can't even bend your wrist properly. Okay, so that's an example of that. The T-square connects Mercury and Uranus, planet of rebellion and change. and the North Node in Leo. Now, I haven't mentioned the North Node in Leo yet. It's at 8 degrees. The midheaven is the line at the top of the chart. So you see the chart, it's pretty much empty. You've got the North Node. And then in the very center of the top of the chart, in the middle of it, is the North Node, is that line with an arrow on top. 8 degrees Leo. 8 is power in numerology, and Leo is about shining and allowing yourself to step into your own power and to say, I am a powerful, beautiful being. And it connects with Mercury, Uranus, and it creates friction as a T-square. So what's going round and around, and what is unresolved energy today, is the negative self-talk, the ego's attempt to create chaos in your life to distract you, all to keep you away from reaching this pinnacle of you embracing yourself and coming to terms with your own beauty and your own amazingness. So don't let the ego get you down. It's always going to try and get you down, and it's an ongoing process. Don't resist it. Don't give yourself a hard time. Let go of the things that are unpleasant, or just become aware of them and say, I'm not judging this, it's just part of me. And it just, yeah, there are a billion other thoughts and feelings in here, and this, let me just not hang on to it and wave it down the river. Bye. And that's the way you can really let go of things that have plagued you for a long time, and you can really step into your true power today. It's really, I love this new moon. Love it. Okay, anything else? Let's see. That's it. Yep. See if I've missed anything. Being thorough here. I haven't talked about the South Node, but I'm not really feeling that. I mean, now that I've mentioned it. It sextiles Venus at 22 degrees in Libra. The South Node is at 21 degrees in Sag. So that gives you a natural sense of presence and awareness of how far you've come and where you've come from. So it kind of gives you a boost, because the self-hatred and negative self-talk, that eradicates your entire past and anything positive and any major achievements you've ever created. It just says, ugh, you're not good enough. It doesn't say, hey, you won the Olympics 5 years ago. And with the South Node at 21 degrees in Sag, it reminds you that you have done things. And it makes it easy for you to list your achievements, and it makes it easier for you to list things that are evidence why you're a great person and why the future can be totally what you design it and what you make it. Because you've overcome that. So if you overcame that, then this new thing isn't going to be that hard. And hey, you did this before and you changed your way of being, so that means you can do it again. So that's really invaluable, because often we have these blind spots in our mind and we can't remember why certain things are negative. And you're not going to have that problem today. You have not the foresight, the hindsight to say, hey, actually I've been through worse, or I've had something similar, so I know how to maybe handle this. It's just a supportive, uplifting kind of energy. Oh, and I haven't talked about Mars in Aries. Yeah, Mars did go direct yesterday on the 14th of November. So it was retrograde for a long time, a couple of months, I think. I'm not exact. I think 6 weeks to 2 months, or ish. And Mars is Aries, the god of war in mythology. And it's this masculine drive of, I'm going to assert myself, and if violence is involved, then that's fine, because I have to get what I want. And sometimes in life, you really have to push through to get things. When Mars is in retrograde, it makes it a lot more difficult for people to access their own sense of fire and motivation and drive. When it goes direct, that fire is restored and you're much more motivated. Yeah, it's much easier to say, hey, this might be difficult, but I'm going to do it. It's an uphill battle, but I've got the energy to actually go uphill, so it's fine. And it's in Aries, the sign that it rules. So Mars is very, very happy. Aries is the ram. So you can see how those two work together. The soldier takes a ram, and he knocks down the door. Opens the door for him to get the castle and to get what he wants. It's at 15 degrees, 1 in 5 is 6, and 6 is an opportunity. It's a window of opportunity that opens up temporarily and that closes down again. So this is really the first day of Mars being direct, saying go, 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 go. But the universe is really blessing all of us by giving us this new moon in Scorpio and saying, hey, before you go, let's just think about what's actually going on and where we want to go. Rather than just running off and getting on the motorway, let's actually put the location in the sat-nav and plan the route of where we're going. Or instead of just signing up for a new job, let's actually think of what we enjoy doing and what kind of job we'd like. So this works hand in hand with Mars in Aries. Oh, and earlier I said think of this as New Year's and setting New Year's resolutions. With Mars in Aries, it's going to really mean you hit the ground running and you make so much progress. It's amazing. I love it. Okay, so we've got the new moon. When we have eclipses, I always talk about how these energies have a 6-month effect because things are interrupted and they kind of stick around. The new moon comes and goes, but the new moon starts the process of recharging itself during the new moon period, so when it is pitch black, and then it sets goals for the next cycle, remember? So this moon inspires you to really be able to achieve things before the end of the year. So this sense of drive and understanding and why am I feeling like this? What's it really about? And what am I trying to achieve here? You'll have that not just on the 15th, but as we go through the end of November and half of December as well. You'll have great personal insight and you'll be able to act much more decisively. It's great. Okay, that is it. I hope you have a wonderful time during this new moon. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, you'll see a button that says book your reading. Just click on that to order your reading with me. In my personal readings, I will draw up your birth chart. So like I've used the date of birth or the date, here I will use your date of birth in a personal reading. Then the time of birth and the place of birth. Having those 3 pieces of information allows me to draw up a snapshot of the sky at the moment you were born, and it tells me everything about you. Who you are, what your talents are, what your destiny is, what's in between. So, in the East they believe everything is destined, okay? And everything is written down and we're just going through the motions, we have no say. In the West, we believe in the law of attraction and manifestation and the power of our words and having choices in life and being able to go different ways. And the astrology sits in the middle. It kind of shows what is destined as such, what's naturally going to come your way, so success in work or love or beauty or whatever it is, and where you have free will and how you can tweak things so you can have the best experience possible. So it's really useful to understand yourself again, so that you don't have to repeat negative patterns. So yes, I can look at that for you if you're at a crossroads or if you need to make any decisions, if you don't know what to do work-wise, or you don't know what your life purpose is, or love, or travel, when to travel, investments, spiritual development. If you have any questions, it's all explained in your birth chart. So if you're interested in that, then please get in touch with me for a personal reading. Go to gregoryscott.com. And if you like this video, then please hit subscribe, share the video online, and give it a thumbs up. I hope you have an amazing day here during the new moon, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best.